My name is Gregory Hamilton, and this is The Highway to Heaven in 88 Steps. And we keep just every day, we keep adding and asking ourselves, what is it that I want to do with my life? And what is it that God wants me to do with my life? And it's a team effort. If God and me are working together, we're going to need two books. We've got our notebook, we've got our employee, we've got our intentions, we've got our focus. We're not trying to do this by ourselves. Guess what book we need to have? A little hint, we're on our highway to heaven. Is there a notebook out there already? Because basically, this book I'm talking about is nothing but a notebook. It's documentation. The first part of the book is documentation of all kinds of lives and what they did, what they were planning, what happened. The second part of the book is letters and notes, people's thoughts on paper, laying bricks. I'll let you decide how you ever want to decipher any book you want to read. And I'll talk about my personal. We know that I was doing a notebook since I was a teenager. And I've been laying those bricks of literally asking myself, what is it that I want to do with my God-given life since a teenager. But I didn't have a Bible, my second notebook, until I was in my 50s. Maybe late 40s. And I almost went to have it to, I don't know, but let's just say my thoughts and my intentions were not the same as the results of what happened. I went to read it with a very one thought process, thinking I would be able to get something, this or that out of it, and quite the opposite happened. Well, I'm glad that I have my other notebook that allows me to read other notebooks for me to be able to create this notebook, if that makes sense. And why it's real important that we do our notebook for our own personal life, we can see this, right? It keeps us focused, it keeps us grounded, and it keeps us on our highway. Now this other second book is doing the same thing. It's a roadmap. It has all kinds of answers in it. It has everything that you could imagine and maybe like myself couldn't imagine. And why it's important to have our own notebooks, we know, because it's something that we can do with our own mind at all times, keep ourselves focused. And it's the same thing with this other book. It's there to keep us focused and able to keep us from being sidetracked from other people's interpretations of the highway. You see, I at no point in time will I be trying to decipher any book for you. That's not what. How would I know what to do? You need to read your book and you need to do your notebook for you to be able to have your communication, right? So, just like our first notebook, when we first started doing our first brick, it was scary. We got the book, and we kind of put it off to the side. We didn't always know what to do with it. Sometimes we'd open it, and some days we didn't open it. But it was a door that was open that was never shut. There's the notebook, and we go back to it, and some days we do a lot, some days we do a little. Well, it's going to be the same thing with this other book. We first have to actually have one to be able to lay bricks in it. And it's going to be intimidating, and it's going to be hard to want to sit there and, some of the words can be. So get one that resonates to you. There's some that are older prints that are hard to read for a beginner, and there's some that are more modernized. So there's really nothing that you can pick that's wrong, because you'll be able to. It's a weird how it works. The interpretation of yourself, if you're doing it for yourself, comes across amazing. If I was to try to read a book, any book, and then give you my interpretation of the book, it might be a little bit different than, say, what the author was trying to write. Or let's say the author might even say, that's not even close to what I said. And so I don't want to be doing that to anybody else. I've got my own notebook. I'm not going to be reading that to you or anybody else, right? Doesn't necessarily mean it's private. But it's the same thing with this other book. What if somebody else has read this other book and then wants to tell you their interpretation of it? See, they might be on a different highway, they might be on a different spot on the highway, they might have a completely different goal or purpose in their life. So it's real important to be able to have your mind, your intentions, and your thoughts about these things. If you're going to try to get the quick, easy highway, you might miss out on the most read book the world's ever seen. That's what was that was the hook that got me. I like to read, and then that thought came across my head. The most read book in the entire world, and I'm not going to read it. And wow, like I said, I'm sure glad I did. So now let's maybe do a quick little surf analogy on that then. When we're out there surfing and stuff like this, and there's people out there that are good, and there's people that are learning, it can get crowded out in the lineup. And if you're good and and see people are trying to follow your moves, well, you can sit there, and when a wave comes, you can paddle over this way and get the whole crowd to come over this way. And then at the last second, because your intention was to trick them and bring them over here so that you can out paddle them back over and catch the wave where there's no one there except they're just sitting there watching. You bring the crowd over this way and come over, catch the wave. And it's going to be the same thing in life. If you're not really sure what you're doing, you might be just following somebody, and then at the last second they take off and leave you just over there all by yourself. And now who are you talking to? Your employees coming up to you and say, hey. And it's not like maybe they did it on purpose, maybe they didn't do it on purpose, but everybody's got a different focus, everybody's got a different intention. I highly suggest picking up a book, the book, as soon as you can, and have it there with you. Don't worry about trying to find the time for it. Don't try to worry about trying to read it, but you can get them for free all over the place, and you can go buy a really nice one, brand new one, but go get yourself one and just kind of have it around so that you can well, I pray for you, and I pray for America.